Welcome to Global Affairs Network. Our mission is to connect the world to American expertise in business, education, and politics. With me today is the community organizer, a political activist, Mr. Horus, AKA Y. You're probably going to tell us why. This Gabonese native is a resident of Brooklyn in the great state of New York. The man is paving the way to the younger generation to come. Let me ask you this. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. It's breaking a little bit, but I can hear you okay.
Wonderful.
Can
wonderful.
you hear me?
Great. So yeah, I can receive you, fantastic. So, listen, I'm so happy to have you tonight. It's been a long time. I've been trying to get you for so long. And thank God the family. You're a busy man, family man, doing great stuff in New York. So today we will get some of your time to ask you a couple of questions about your activities, what you do in New York. We've been seeing you mainly on social media fighting. The election of Barack Obama as an African American was an amazing moment and in the history of the United States. And you also know that it was beautiful to see that Black family in the White House. We all break dancing, happy. But
in the history of the world, not just the United States, because the whole world was celebrating that.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, it looks like that was not a true measure of progress for Black people in this nation. The fact is, we here we are still fighting, and marching. We still continue to march with Black Lives Matter movement against police brutality, economics inequalities, the broken criminal justice system. We really still working hard to push these issues forward. As a matter of fact, as you already know, last Sunday there's this young man again, Jacob Blake.
Jacob Blake, yeah,
seven times. Sometimes I just wonder what kind of man will shot somebody in the back 7 times, especially somebody who's not posing any threat. So I just want to hear a little bit about all of that. If there's anything that you want to say to the audience, the people that are watching right now, who are you? And also, I was a little bit curious with why I'm an H.
Okay.
That's a good time.
Yeah.
So dive into it. Tell us a little bit about that. What you do in New York, your activities, what make you get into this, work? Because it's a long. It's a very difficult work when you're a political activist. So how you get in? Also, you can dive into responding about what's going on right now, the social and civil unrest that's going on in America, police brutality.
For sure. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me. The name Y, so my real name is Yorrick Ayume, and so the name Y comes from the first letter of my first name, so Yorrick. And being young, we had monikers and we had nicknames, and that's the one that stuck. I like to think that it's the beginning of philosophy because I like to think, I like to, try to understand what's the making of humanity, society, and a lot of boring stuff. So why comes from that. And, I used to be an artist and that was also my artist name. So yeah, that's the name my friends and family call me. but my real name is Yorrick. Now, what who I am? Uh, I'm a young, old because I'm in my 40s right now. So I'm um, I'm born and raised in Gabon, which is a same country you coming from, in the West Shore of Africa, Central Africa, and I've been in the U.S. for about over 20 years now. So I'm part of the social, tissue over here, and being a family man. Because you asked me how I got into everything that I do, is it has to do with just caring for yourself, but also for your neighbors, caring for your fellow people, whether they're American or not. We came to this country as immigrants, and we came because we believed in the American dream. We believed, we love the American way. Um, and we were impressed. Me personally, I was impressed with, not just the civil rights movements, but also what the African American community has been able to accomplish. Um, with that being said, I'm a family man. So if you care about your family, you start caring about your neighbors. If you care about your neighbors, you start caring about your community. If you care about your community, you start caring about the country as a whole. And then you get from that to something more of a social construct. I wouldn't call myself a politician yet, but I'm definitely on the ground, grassroots, um, getting the people, uplift the people, educating and learning from them, exchanging and growing. Because I believe, us being immigrants, we are products of here. We also are products from where we're coming from, and we try to make it a seamless thing where the whole world is evolving, and the evolution is simultaneous, basically.
Absolutely. Listen, this is a country of immigrants, and
Yes,
so
sir.
everybody here is whether they were born here or their parents just came to this country just like you and me. That's why it's very important to do what you do. You extremely involved in whatever is going on in your community. You
Right.
also you also do some work in terms of mentoring younger people in your community. Very involved in. I've seen you many times working with the Black Lives Matter people in New York.
Yeah. I lost you a little bit.
Uh, which is good. We
I'm not hearing you. It's
all
frozen.
have to be involved in this. We live here. We have children. Yeah,
There you go. You're back now.
yeah. This connection is crazy. Yeah. So I
Okay.
would say that it's really really a good thing that you get involved in the community where you live. You work there. You live there. You raise your your family there. It's important to be interesting and also not only in all these social activities, but politics is a part of the uh, the fabric of this country. This
It is.
it's almost impossible not to do without it. Because it determines our lives. Politician can decide whether you or me or slave or free man. So
Yeah.
it's very important for us to be engaged. And I know being an active political activist and being an immigrant, you still have that tie with back home. Means that whatever in terms of politics, even social and political issues back home, you still have your eye on what's going on back home. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
you are aware of there's some kind of a program that President Trump have to bring American all those American that is supposed to be detained or tortured in foreign countries to bring them back home. I don't know if you're aware of it. Do you know any Gabonese American that is in jail justly or being tortured or something like that?
Oh
Are you
yeah,
aware?
definitely, definitely. We have the case of the great Bertrand Zibi. He's a Gabonese American who lived here for about a decade or something like that, many years, and then went back home, became a politician, successful in all of that, and then for some reason, once he decided to no longer be with the the people in power, he automatically became a threat to them. So he got uh, accused of bogus stuff and has been in jails for the past 4 years. So we've been working with lawyers and the Department of the government basically to try to assist
Yeah.
that, to try to help out and try to get them out. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about it. But yes, we're looking to get this brother out because he hasn't done anything wrong. Unfortunately, the country where we come from is closer to a dictatorship than an actually democratic government.
Yeah, the reason why I wanted to touch on that subject matter is because that program Bring Them Home, initiated by President Trump. Yeah, let me repeat it again. It's Bring Them Home, and you can text Trump to 88022.
You text Trump?
Yeah, text Trump to 88022. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it, uh,
So I have to
it's
text
the
the word
one.
Trump.
Yeah, Trump to
Okay,
then Tipo 88022. Yeah,
will do.
normally, yeah, yeah, you put that in the pop line, and let's see how this gonna work out, because a lot of American, mostly dual citizen, just like Mr. Nzibi that you just mentioned,
Right.
were in that situation, and President Trump was able to bring them back home. So I
Okay.
think all Americans have to be treated equally. This may be a chance to put this issue back on the table and to see before Biden get elected. At least Trump can do something good, since you know the way a strong epithet
Right.
to African. I don't want to get in. We probably will have a chance to talk about that also, but that's something for now, before November, that folks can do. Just text that number
Oh
and see
yeah.
what happened.
We'll make it
What happened?
happen, and
Absolutely.
then we'll make it happen, and then in November we make sure he's out of here. We make sure Trump is out of the office.
Well, don't tell them that. Just have to
That's
keep
what
that
we're
for
working
yourself.
on. Hey, listen,
Yeah,
I'm being transparent. That's what we're working on.
yeah. So are you excited about this ticket, Biden Harris ticket, and why?
Very, very
Why?
excited. Very, very, very excited. Joe Biden has been, being Obama's vice president, and Obama's being my favorite president because he was the culminating point of so many dreams. Um, I can only, I'm rocking with him. You know, the man is not perfect. If you know politics, if you know his American history, American political history, you know that Joe Biden has done some stuff, especially to our community, the African American community. However, um, he's came back and he's done some great stuff as well. And here's the opportunity for him to redeem himself, but also to continue the great work that he has been able to do. And most importantly, the person that he has in front of him, which is President Trump, is 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 bad for America, if we want to summarize it this way. And therefore, um, we are not just voting against Trump, even though that's the key thing to me, voting against Trump, because it's a binary choice, right? It's one or the other. There's nobody else that's going to come in between. but we also recognizing the great effort, the life effort of Joe Biden, who's been working for America ever since forever, probably before I was born. Kamala Harris, uh, this beautiful black queen, black and Indian and Caribbean. She's embodying a lot of us in some sense, and she's embodying the American dream. And I'm looking forward to put my feet on the ground and work with different associate organization here to push their tickets and make sure people vote. Whoever you vote for, make sure you vote. Make sure you educated about the issues that are pertaining to you and your family and your community. And then when you go to vote, make sure you vote for the person or the tickets that represents a chance for that. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to all fairness, though, what is wrong with Trump? I mean, I know you are, but listening what you are saying, it looks like
Yeah.
you are Democrats. But what's wrong technically? What is wrong with that brother Trump? You think he's really the another version of the dictators back to those country we came from?
Well, there's so
Are you
much to
scared
say
of
about
fascism or?
there's so much to say about this man. Uh, Listen, he's I don't know where to start, but me being an immigrant coming from places where I've seen firsthand dictatorship, I could tell that Trump has the make of it. If it was in America, if we weren't in America, it's probably would have been closer to it because things with him, work is more towards what he wants and things going his way rather than building together and grow together. You know what I mean? And I feel like the presidents before, especially Obama, have built so much and we gained so much momentum as a country. Um, then for Trump to come and not to continue that tradition and trying to break everything that Obama has built is already a bad sign. From a personal standpoint, I'm Gabonese American, so yes, I'm American, but I'm also Gabonese, and Gabon is in Africa. It's called the third world, and according to Trump, it's a shithole country. So I got a bone against him for that. Uh, but more so, directly in his policies, you have to respect the way the forefathers of this country have built the country and the political system with the three different pillars and you know um, the fact that the president does not have all the strength and all the power to do whatever he wants. The country is working very well. Stuffs are moving pretty okay, but due to some of the policies and some of the comments this man is making, uh, uh, the social aspect of the country is in shambles. We might have seen, because I'm also into business, so we might have seen some positive shifts into the financial world and everything else. But politically, we regressing, and socially, we went backwards. That's why we having the Black Lives Matter. That's why we having a lot of the stuff that's happening right now. And therefore, to me, he's the symbol. He's not guilty of everything that's happening, but he's the symbol of it. And he seems to be glorifying some of the most negative stuff that we need to remove in order for America to be its best.
I hear you, man. Just to just to see, last week you seen the Democratic convention. You heard Biden, calling on America to come together, unity,
Yes.
unity progress. But at the same time, once you see the Democrats come this week, it's a lot of us scare tactics. If you let Biden coming, America will be destroyed. It's gonna take your guns away. Not knowing that the economy that's there, Trump being glorified, being
Right.
glorified for being the one who fixed the economy. He actually came when the economy was actually taking off. And,
Yeah.
and can you imagine when Biden and President Obama came to power, we were close to a crumble of this economy. People talking about the Great Depression, close to the
Crisis.
Great Depression.
Yeah,
You know, so but
2007. Yeah,
it come
I remember.
everything was going up. Then I think one of one of the these things that the American people will remember is is failure to manage the COVID-19. So some difficult situation. Um, yeah, I mean, so you know, when it took him at least a month to even declare that this was a serious global pandemic and the measure was supposed to be taken. So
Yeah,
before you know it, is the epicenter of this disease, and I don't think American people will forgive him for that, because we've lost a lot of people that were supposed to. I mean, that they were dead unnecessarily. Something that we could manage. I mean, America. You've seen in the past, President Obama, with when the crisis of Ebola was in the news, all kind of stuff. It didn't take them so much to stop it. As a matter of fact, they even left some instruction for the next administration to deal with this kind of a global pandemic. But the
right.
man didn't follow on it, and the result is what we're seeing. It's catastrophic. That is something that I agree with you. This symbolism of really symbolized the refusal of everything, all the progress that people, the Obama administration made. They're trying to correct the healthcare. He promised to replace it by something better. To this point, we don't see anything better coming up. He said
He's got to go.
Mexico have to pay for the wall.
For the
Mexico,
wall.
it looked like American people still have to finance that wall, and so I'm confused when you hear, and including some of our brothers and sisters here talking about Trump is the best man for the job. But
No.
I mean, you can even deliver on your own promises. So I'm confused about people who still believe that it's done, and this is his own words. He says it's
Right.
done better than any president in history, including Lincoln, who actually freed the slaves.
Yeah, nah,
so if you
his
don't
ego is too big. His ego is too big. His record speak for itself. I mean, in all fairness, we don't we COVID-19 is something we could not foresee. Although some would argue that yeah, it has been prepared, and the community, was kind of working and preparing for something like that to hit. Of course, Obama had put in place a program with his administration and everything else, but um, just the management of it, because we know that we could have done better. We know that this administration could have saved more lives. Uh, Now we're looking at hindsight, and it's unfortunate to put all of this on one man, because this is a virus that shook the whole world. With that being said, it's similar to many of the compartment and the departments of his administration, and the stuff that they've been doing for the need of this country. Listen, I don't want to talk politics too much, because that's not my thing. Um, but the proof is in the pudding, if you want to put it this way. He's
absolutely.
got to go. He's not a good manager. He's not a good problem solver. He's not pushing forward. Even if you remove him from the presidential office, you know that his business acumen and his business record is probably even worse. So he sold us a dream. Some people bought in the dream and elected him democratically. This is great. Now he has to leave democratically as well. And up to the next person.
But you're from New York, and you
Yeah.
probably familiar with the Central Park Five.
Oh yeah.
This man wrote an article in New York Times, asking for these young people, innocent people, to have a death penalty. He never
Hmm.
apologized to those kids that you literally to be killed unjustly. And so if this man have done more than Abraham Lincoln, why can't he just uses a bullet puppet and stop this crisis, this injustice that's going on? I heard a lot, argument about it's done a lot for criminal justice and all kind of stuff, but there's a lot that Trump can do,
You know,
and starting with.
in all fairness, I'll say this: he's not necessarily guilty of everything. However, the Central Park Five case, for instance, was to me the preparation of everything he's doing now. Um, if you know Trump history, you know that he did not just come into politics now. He's been trying to become a president for a minute, but he was so bad at it and was such a comedian, entertainer, etc., that he didn't have the credential for it. He made sure that he followed a certain process, but also that he was appealing to this dark side of the country, because that's what brings us here, is that America still has some of these negative construct that's part of the history, and some people are still kind of abiding by it, unfortunately. And he was able to appeal to that, and these are the people that elected him and putting him in power, hoping that he will actually be able to make those policies go forward and get the country in some places that they want to see it going. But we know that that's not the best thing for America. America is probably the greatest country on earth right now. When it comes to me, for instance, I look at America as the son or the daughter of most of the civilization, if not every countries of earth, of the planets. Everybody contributed to the making of this country and making it big. Whether it was historically speaking or continuously with immigration, we all chipped in, and that's what make America what it is. And it shows the path. It opens the path to the rest of the world. It shows what we can be, despite the fact that there's still a lot of negative points, and it's an ongoing process. So
Yeah, I mean,
Trump didn't
since
create. I'm just going to finish with this. Trump did not
yeah,
create
sorry, sorry.
everything that happens, and even with the Central Park Five, but he was smart enough to appeal to these branches, those people, what I mean, to make sure he could represent them or make them believe that he could represent them, and then move forward with their policies. And that's a no-go. He's got to go. That's it.
Yeah, hopefully we have a much better leader that speaks to the entire country, and not calling people who are openly racist good people. You remember that incident where all good people on both sides. I think we need we need this country need a moral leader that is able to and I like, by the way, I like what Joe Biden said when he said we might be the generation that will put an end to, I mean, erase the stain of racism. That was very powerful. I never heard something like that before in America. Look, I watched this politics for more than 20 years now. You never see some leaders saying openly, "We will do everything possible to eradicate the stain of racism," because we know one of the biggest problems with America is actual racism, because America is one of the most, I mean, the most powerful country on earth,
Right.
and for these countries just to show inability to solve this issue is just ridiculous. We have the means and everything necessary to put an end to this nonsense, and make everybody welcome all the citizens welcome in this country and get access to all the necessary infrastructure that they need to be better Americans.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, you also have pretty much an eye on Gabon, what's going on in Gabon, because if you're an activist, you usually your moral compass is not only here in America. You're trying to see what's going on around the world, and because you come
Yeah.
from Gabon, you more likely will have a say, or probably you've been also an activist when it comes to these people, including Mr. Nzibi, who happened to be a Gabonese American, still in jail
Hmm.
on just, I suppose. I don't know if you have a fair due process. Do you know any details about what's going on with this man?
Uh,
Do they
we've
give him a fair, a fair,
uh, no, from the start it's unfair. From the start it's unfair because he hasn't committed any crime, from what I know, and he was not accused of any of these crimes. He's allegedly accused of, um, I don't know, try to, you know, take over the power or something like that. Uh, Basically, the judicial case for him is is something very, very bogus. But as a Gabonese, because I know very well the story, I know that it has to do with the fact that he used to be close enough to the people in power in Gabon, and their management was, if I want to be nice, I'll say mediocre. It's very, very bad. This country has been actually going backwards, due to these people that have been in power for over 50 years now. We just celebrated the 60th Independence Day of Gabon, and again, the country is in shambles.
things
So
go south.
I'm
I
sorry.
see. I
Yeah.
say
So
things still going south after
exactly,
60 years.
exactly. It's going bad, and being who I am, being who we are as immigrants, you know, I'm almost alone here. I got some friends, some cousins and stuff, but the big make of my family is back home, and I still
Yeah.
provide for them. So most of my paycheck and stuff like that go over there. Um, so I know what's going on, and I'm still very, very, very connected. And it hurts my heart to see what's happening there. But just coming back to Mr. Zibi, because he decided to leave the government, he got indicted. They put some fake case on it, and he's been in jail ever since then. It's been 4 years, and he hasn't gotten any true trial. I know that the American embassy, um, is it the embassy we have in Gabon?
Yeah, they do have an
Consulate.
embassy. Yeah,
Yeah, either the embassy or
yeah,
consulate. They look in the case and
yeah.
they go and visit him from time to time. So they're also aware of what's going on. But to my sense, I feel like they're not doing enough because this man is unjustly incarcerated. They're also walking on their toes because you try not to be involved to get involved with political stuff from another country who's supposed to be sovereign. So it's a work in progress, but hopefully we can get Mr. Zibi out, or at least give him a very, very fair process pretty soon. And we hoping the American government can back us up on that. With that being
Well,
said,
yeah,
for what you said about me being a political activist for Gabon, yes, I am. But I'm also, I'm a Pan-Africanist. It's Pan-African. Um, Damn, when I hear myself, I hear the accent. Uh,
yeah.
so it's everything black.
So,
If the African community in America, which is the African American community in America, is suffering, I'm in it. I'm on it. If it's happening in France, I'm on it. If it's happening in Africa, I'm on it. Right now in Africa, the biggest topic is has to do with Mali, this beautiful country in West Africa, which has erupted and ousted out their
we were.
former
I was coming to that.
yeah. So just to say that
I was coming into that. I
for
have
the
a
whole,
question.
yeah, we're working for the whole, with the whole continent, not just Gabon, but the whole continent. Of course, I come from Gabon, so it's personal to me when it comes to that. But Africa as a whole, especially, the francophone Africa, the people that were colonized by France and which are victims of what we call France-Afrique. Uh, it's pretty bad, and we working towards eradicating all of that. But also the Americans, African American case is very, very dear to our hearts. We work hand in hand with our African American brothers and sisters to make sure over here also we're doing better.
Absolutely. When Africa do good, everybody
And
will
vice
do good.
versa. And vice
Yeah,
versa. When Black
absolutely.
America
Yeah,
is
I
doing
mean,
good, Africa is doing good
yeah,
as well.
absolutely. That's why we really have to be involved in this social struggle to make sure that to ensure that everything is works pretty good. And you mentioned Francophone Africa. I think it's 14 countries in Africa. And
Yeah,
although
14 or 15, yeah.
in the 60s, 1960s, it looks like most of those countries have their independence. But for some reason, I don't understand why is that those countries still suffer some kind of a. I mean, those countries still a stronghold for France. As a matter of fact, it's estimated that France still owed nearly 5 billion, 5 billion,
500,
yeah,
500,
500,
500
500 billion,
billion
500 billion that goes to French treasury every year.
yearly. And that's
Yearly.
only on the monetary side. That has to do with the franc, which is the money that those most of those countries are using, which is printed in France and backed up basically by the franc or the euro, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a bunch of political BS that makes France too powerful in the decision of those countries. And there's a lot of micromanagement when we know that there shouldn't even be any management. We're not employees of France. We're not French citizens. We're not nothing to France if not fellow human beings, right? So we would
But
love to see more
what
of a
really happened?
collaboration. What really happened?
Well, yeah, I mean, not to cut you off because you know what, I was
Hmm.
not finished because beyond
Sure.
this 500 billion that every year to into French treasury, we also have 65%. They say you have to put 65% in their foreign currency reserve into the French treasury as well, and
Yes,
only
sir.
an additional 20% in liability. And then after that, it looks like they only allowed 15% to those African, like as a, you have to come and get your money. You put all this money,
As a,
and then only allowed 15% of the money. If you want your money, they only give you 15%. So you
and
have
then the rest
500.
it comes as a loan with
Yeah.
interest.
So
The rest of it, if you want
so
it, you got to get it as a loan.
and then my question is, how come they, the same French people, wonder why African is not developed? If you take all of this money every year, because if you count in maybe 60 years, if they've been taking the money, I'm not talking about colonization because that's a very brutal system. If you
Right,
colonize a country, that country doesn't have a right, so
right.
they been loading the country before 1960, and then from 1960 to nowadays, that's 66 years. If
Hmm.
you have 5 billion every year going to your treasury, how come you expect this country
At least.
to if you take all the resources that's supposed to be helping those countries to be developed? So how this kind of stuff happen? So literally these countries such as Gabon is not actually free. They're still under control by the French.
Exactly.
What can we do?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so in a way, when you hear somebody like Trump, President Trump, name calling this country, these countries as he called them, and the SOB or whatever
Yeah.
name
Well,
he called those countries in Gabon, I mean in
right.
Africa. It seems that in a way is right. We don't know how to take care of a free country allowed another country to take advantage of it, like that
Yeah.
way. What
It's
really
just
happened?
it's just part of this paternalistic uh, 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 attitude where people like to think that melanated folks, meaning black people here or Africans in Africa, need to be told what to do and need some sort of help to govern and to be part of this what they call civilization. And in reality, it's nothing but exploitation, disguised exploitation. So you had slavery back in the days, because we talk about for colonization, we talk about 60 years, give or take about roughly about 70, 80 years. So we can call it a century of colonization in reality, because they've been in those countries before giving those countries, independence. Um,
So do
but
you think that the leaders
right,
or helpers, our African, the francophone African leaders, do you think
right.
they're part of the problem? Do you think they help French to destroy their own countries?
Oh, for sure, for sure. We have our part in it. We also have our bad people, bad apples that contribute to the negativity that's happening in our own place. Nobody can come to your house and just mash up everything, and you have nothing to do with it, or what I'm saying. In order for that enterprise to be so successful for so long, you have to have in place some sort of system that's very strong, and also some people within the actual country that's helping. So yes, definitely, many of our leaders or so-called leaders, because they were imposed to us, um, are part of the problem, and that's why we saluting. The black community, the African community is saluting Mali right now. I want to emphasize this because they just removed one of these people that's been doing very, very bad business. And I told you that when we spoke last time, and that's my personal opinion. But it stems from poverty. If there's a lot of wealth and there's a lot of people to share that wealth with, and that at the end of the day you realize that all of this wealth is only spread within 5 to 10 to maybe 20% of the country, and you got 80% of the people that are poor and struggling, you creating something. And when you create that kind of tension and that kind of struggle, people going to rise up at some point. And the only way there's only two ways to deal with this kind of uprising. It's either you work with them and make sure the wealth is redistributed better, or you're going to buy more guns so you can oppress them and keep them at bay, keep them low, and continue whatever it is that you're doing. And that's how we get all these dictators in Africa. But the youth right now is definitely open-minded, and we have our eyes open, and we're moving forward, and we're going to change the narrative, and all these SOBs and shitholes and blah 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 is going to be out of the window, because we're working towards a much better, future.
Yeah. There's another phenomenon in Africa. Is there those head of states that we also know are been supported by the former colonial power.
Yeah.
We also know that they are doing whatever they can to now respecting the law of the land. Like for example, if the Constitution say you can only be president for twice in two terms, it looks like some of these president are doing whatever it takes to change the constitution so that they can be in power forever. And as a matter of fact, during the Obama administration, I think President Barack Obama was concerned about this issue, and he
When he
didn't
went to
even make
Kenya. Yeah.
speech. No, actually, it was in Ghana though. He
It
made
was
a
in
speech.
Ghana? Okay.
He made a speech in Ghana where he was actually calling on African leader,
Uh-huh.
to understand that it's not necessary to be strong men. We just needed strong institutions, and from time to time after time, we've seen this leader trying to change the constitution just to remain in power forever. Is that contribute to the fact that we having social problems in Africa?
Yes,
What's your
yes. Yes. 1000%. It does contribute. And they're not trying to change the constitution. They're actually doing it. They're changing it um, for whatever they feel like it is. The constitution could be one way today and another way tomorrow. And you know, they just looking for their personal gain, personal profits, them and their family and their, you know, direct entourage. But also, um, these people were put in place and put in power by the former colonial powers, right? So those colonizers are always and still behind all of this mess that's happening. And you know, one of our main goal is to break all of that. And it's not just francophone Africa. It's actually in many countries, even the ones that speak English and everything else. So yeah,
absolutely?
but the francophone ones is the biggest issue because France has never let go, really let go of its former colonies. You know, what I mean, there's many contracts, OPEC contracts from back in the days that are still ongoing. Um, all the financial markets, exploitations when it comes to natural resources, the military training, the political training, and all this stuff is usually done in their countries. So the people that get in power when they come back to Africa are usually already, prepped up by France to make sure that the legacy and the tradition of exploitation that's been happening from France to African countries, to those African countries, is continuous and almost never change, if not in makeup and marketing, because you could always change the word, you could always change the color of something, but if it's the same thing, it's not, there's no change. And the African people are the ones suffering for that.
I also saw one of the African president. I think the president of Chad went from president to marshal, something like marshal or something like that, like the highest degree of I don't know, commandment. It's something that is so
Yeah.
necessary. We've seen that with Bokassa though,
Well,
and
yeah.
all of this is just the attempt to remain in power in a relationship with I don't know what is your take on that, but it's just giving
It's
the
ego. It's
continent a bad image.
egotistical. Yeah, it's egotistical. It's egocentric. Bokassa from the Central African country, when he did that, he called himself an emperor because he wanted to be an emperor. So that's even further for such a poor country. I mean, poor country is rich, but they deemed it to be poor. But Chad, when it comes to Chad, you're speaking of Idris Deby. He's a military. In all fairness, he's a soldier. At DNA, he was a general. So now he decided to be, the greatest title of military ever. Good for him. He's also the president. Uh, so can nobody tell him anything else
It's not
otherwise?
necessary. It's not necessary, and
It's
I don't
definitely
think it's
unnecessary. It's
self.
not necessary at
It's
all.
self
Chad, in when it comes to world poverty and the classification of countries in the world, Chad is amongst the lowest. Like it's probably number 4 coming from the bottom or something like that. Uh, at the very least in Africa, Chad is among the poorest countries. But my Chadian brothers and
Yeah,
sisters,
but they do have oil. I don't understand why they poor. They do have oil and all kind of natural resources. I want to talk
same
about
thing.
Ouattara. Well, we have a Ouattara, the man who actually one of his speech was talking about him now interested in being a third terms third term president, but
Right.
in degree situation, it just turned. It's a U-turn
Yeah.
back into to proclaiming himself a candidate for, I believe, 2023 or something like that.
Yeah.
What's going on in Africa? I mean, why is that all of a sudden that shift from him
So
giving some hope to the new generation, saying that it's not necessary for a man of my age to be a president, and then all of a sudden it just turned around and say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna be a candidate for presidency. So is that something that will create some social unrest in that in Cote d'Ivoire? You believe?
yeah. So right now in the African community, thank you for speaking of it. Um, Alassane Ouattara, who's president of Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire, is has been in power for 2 terms now. It was already shady the way he came to power. It was a very bad way because a lot of Ivorians died for it unnecessarily. Um, but he got in power. He held on to it, and he was supposed to not represent himself for the new term. Um, he actually spoke previously about other presidents having to remove themselves and blah blah blah. And like you say, now we witnessing the 360. So we praying as African, we praying that Ivory Coast does not get into another case of civil war, another case of unfortunate and unnecessary killings in the near future, because the presidential elections are coming in that very country, that dear country. So, but once
Yeah,
again,
I'm very.
it has to do with he has the supports. It has the supports of the main powers of this world, right? He has the support of France. He has the support of the United States, probably, and many other countries. We would love to see the rest of the world let Africans decide for the fate of their countries. We would love to see for all these power that be that wrote all these magnificent books and magnificent laws about equalities and human rights, et cetera, to actually apply and abide by the words that they wrote and let Africa evolve on its own. And the people are mature enough, always been mature enough, because we coming from kings and queens. We've done we created some of the very first civilization, if not the first civilization on this world, which inspired everything else that's trickled down right here in the Western world. So we have this DNA. We from the making of the people that can decide and make things better for our countries. But unfortunately, Africa is so rich. Africa has so much, so much, so much to give to the world that the rest of the world almost feels like they cannot let us decide for ourselves. So they always got to be chipping in and imposing people to us, um, and that gives the situation that we know. Hopefully, he's not
Absolutely.
going to make it. Hopefully, he's going to be removed. Hopefully, we move to a new chapter, and we pray for Ivory Coast as well as Mali, as well as Chad, as well as Cameroon, as well as shout out to my people in Amazonia, as well as Congo. Uh, the Congo DRC has already moved on, kind of, sorta, but Congo Brazzaville is still happening this way. Central African Republic, same thing. Angola has moved. Togo, Benin has moved. There's so many countries, man. There's so many countries, beautiful people there, but all held into this political pressure and oppression that's continuous, you know, and that's what we're here.
Yeah.
That's my fight.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so unfortunate to see a country with, I mean, a continent with so much potential in terms
Hmm.
of and the resources, the natural resources that this country in Africa has, and it's so unfortunate because in the end, if you're not able to control your own resources, you're not able to control your own people. I mean, it's bad news. To This is the 21st century, and we still have friends, having a stronghold in those countries, African, Francophone Africa, and
Hmm.
it seems that every year, every election cycle, we've seen these same people in power, that are usually also supported by their former colonial power,
Right.
and that in return help them to continue to loot
Continue.
these countries those resources. So it is very important for young people, intellectuals, and to really be organized in a way that you have to make sure that this kind of relationship, be ended. Because if France always promote liberty, fraternity, and all those good words just for the French and not for the African countries, I think it's very unfair. And also, we have to make sure that people, diaspora, in countries like the United States, those African American immigrants in the United States, we have to do everything to our power to make sure that if those behavior in terms of trying to uh, uh, um, dominate your own people by starving them, by taking all the money away from investing in your own country. Normally,
Right.
they should be. We should really, really, really do the best we can to make sure that a country like the United States are to help those countries to be self to govern themselves better than what we see right now, because it's really chaos. If we cannot, can you imagine in 21st century we still, although we are happy that they have removed these dictators from Mali, but it should be in a democratic way. If we still
Right.
have to still need the military people to come and seize power, it means that there's a lot of work to do. So
There is.
let's say on Africa, and I believe we already passed the time. The 45 minutes that we're supposed to be here. I want to come back to the United States. I'm going to let
Sure.
you give you a chance to say, give me your opinion on what's going on right now in our politics, in our politics here in the United States, but also about this
Justice.
uh, social unrest, the killing of unarmed black people in this country. We went from the 60s, where it was just about voting rights, and the struggle continues. Is any idea when all of this gonna end, and any time? Do you think Biden can make a difference? Just because he's called on unity,
Yeah.
and do you believe really that it's possible for us to be the generation that will end the stain of racism in America?
Well, that's the
Your prediction?
that's the
As,
beautiful
as,
thing about it. Can you hear me?
yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying that's the beautiful thing about it is that we have to know ourselves and we have to know how things work, right? This is a political presidential election, and when you speak about any sort of election, whether it's presidential or anything else, you do know that politicians will make promises. Um, I'm part of many groups, uh, African American groups, and etc. And there's always a talk about Biden and what he's done in the past. especially negatively. Same thing for Kamala Harris and what she's done as an attorney in California. She also has some very bad records when it comes to that. And even the fact that she may not be really African American and blah, blah, blah.
She's a black woman.
She's a black woman. That's the thing. But you know how it is. Sometimes how people could be very harsh, right? You said Obama was
Well,
an
you
African
know,
American.
Obama was not good, black enough, so we've heard that before. I'm
Yeah,
talking about
exactly.
in terms of policy.
Yeah, no, I'm
Because
coming to that to
also,
say
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm coming to that to say that to pass the message to the Democratic Party to say that right now, again, we are at a binary equation where it has to be one side or the other. So of course, if the choice is between Trump or anybody else, we most likely going to try to choose that other person, especially if it's from the Democratic Party, because that's the party that resonates the most with us. However, what we don't want to do is for them to keep taking us for granted and thinking just because we're going to vote them or we have to vote them or we will vote them because they're Democratic and that's the name. No, sir, you have to work for us. You have to put us in your agenda. You have to bring some improvement into what's going on. So it's going to be very, very challenging for Biden and Harris to actually get in power because I believe they're going to get in power. I will militate for them. Um, but also bring the social changes and the actual advancing that we're looking for. You know, America DNA, America's very DNA has racism and black exploitation and poverties for the blacks, etc. in it. It comes from it's part of the fabric of this country. But fortunately, we also growing, we
But
evolving.
we've made a lot of progress as well. You know, we
Exactly,
came
we've
from.
made a lot of progress. That's the beautiful part about it. Is
But
that
can we
it's
do
not
more
something,
than that?
yeah, it's not
The
something
binary
static. We come from some place, and there's been an evolution. You know what I mean? We getting better and better and better. We have the me as an African, for instance, I know I stand in the shoulders of giants because if it wasn't for the civil rights movement, I probably wouldn't be able to be here speaking with you, having a job, eating at everybody's restaurants and everything else because of the suffering of these people. You know, so I'm humbled and I'm grateful to those people that have fought and to their children's, which are the African American of today, whether they're a part of it or not, uh, uh, to say thank you for allowing us to even be able to partake in this. But the Democratic Party, which I believe will win the presidential election, has to apply themselves a lot harder to make uh, 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 an African American agenda speak about reparations. At least there needs to be at least a conversation about it. Speak
Why at
about
least you should. Why do you should? Why do you sell yourself so short? Why do you
I'm
say
not selling myself short.
they
I'm
might?
just saying
They
that
might.
some people don't believe it should be. You know what I mean? So
But
I'm just trying to be
you know
fair.
that.
To me, it should be. It has to be. You're right about that. Reparation has to be part of it. There shouldn't be any settling or anything like this. But what I'm saying is bring that conversation forward. Don't be afraid. Bring the conversation forward about racism. Bring the conversation forward about police brutality. And it's not just police, because we talk about police brutality, and I feel like these guys are the tip of the iceberg. They're part of the judicial system, and the reason they're not being threatened, the reason they're not being diminished, the reasons things are not changing is because after the police officer has done his bad deed, he has to go and report to somebody, a judge, an attorney general, the whole justice department. And these people are not reprimanding them. These people are not judging them in the same stance that they're judging us civilians and everybody else. You know what I mean? So the whole justice system has to be reviewed along with the police, uh, um, the police forces. What else do you have? You also have the financial system. Even within the business system, entrepreneurial, you also have a lot of segregations there. Segregation and racism. That's why we talk about systemic racism, because it's embedded in almost everywhere, every parts of America. And what we're looking
Yeah.
forward to do, what we're looking forward for the president and the vice president to do, is to actually bring those changes that we're seeking, not just as Black American, not just as African American, but simply as American. Because if I'm an African American and I'm better off, well, my Caucasian brother is better off as well. My Indian, my Asian, my everybody, a family is better off. It's good for the country to cater to the people that are struggling and that have suffered historically from the get-go.
Yeah, but it is an American uh, 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 culture that everybody get some kind of a compensation for
Yes,
stuff, whatever stuff is, but except for so far, except for the African American community, I think
because the check is huge. Because the check is huge. What
yeah,
they owe to the
yeah,
African American community is
but
huge.
it doesn't have to be monetary. It just, I think what the African American community is asking is to be, it's a fair system. It's making
Yeah,
sure that because this country, before America was America, the African slave was already here before this country become a country as we know today.
right.
They built the country, from tears and the sweat, all kind of stuff. We know all this. So
Hmm.
for American, to 2020, we still wonder if it's even possible to have a conversation about reparation. It's just insulted. I think it's not fair
Agree.
done, and I don't think President Trump can be the man that can create that space where we can have that conversation. I think Joe Biden will be more likely to be comfortable with, and giving an opportunity for people to talk, because when you see like what happened in Wisconsin, a police
Right.
officer 7 times in the back of a black unarmed black man.
Yeah.
7 times. You hate somebody to kill them 7 times. You're gonna shoot somebody 7 times. I mean, why? The man is not a threat to you. Why do you have to, shoot him? What, three? I think that this is seven. I read the news.
No,
They
no,
said
no.
seven.
Yeah, it was 7 shots, but there was three police officers. There was
Yeah,
three police officers. It was one man, one black man, three police
yeah,
officers. That black man has his children in the car.
yeah. In
So
the car.
they could have
No pity.
subdued him.
No.
They could
Yeah.
have they
There's.
could have done any other, subdue him in any other physical way, being three
Right.
officers, than having to shoot him.
They
We've
have
seen,
tasers. They have tasers
yeah,
as well.
they
They
have
can use them.
tasers. Listen, we've seen cases, right? We've seen cases of police forces arresting white criminals that are
With guns.
armed. These people have
Yeah.
guns and everything, and they're able to arrest them without killing them. You have a
Yeah. But
man who
yeah.
just did a good deed for his community, because I think he was breaking up a fight between two women,
Yeah. Mhm.
and the police came towards him. This man wasn't armed or anything, and he hasn't caused any uh, 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 bad situation within the community. He wasn't a criminal. You have three police officers, three male. You know that they could have done a lot of different things to actually apprehend this brother rather than having to shoot him. Today he's now
Yeah.
paralyzed from the
For the rest of his life, probably, we will pray God so that a situation can be better. But that's what's going on here, and
Mhm.
I believe the reason why they're doing this, because they already know that nothing will be done to them, and that has to change, because the America don't have the monopoly of violence, or black people don't only live in America. Black people live everywhere, in England, Europe, here in America, in Canada. Why is
Mhm.
that? Always have that kind of a conflict, and that result. I mean, that kind of interaction that always resulted to a violence interaction with the police. It has to be something else than just being safe. And every time you're gonna bring the issue, there will be another issue called the Blue Lives Matter. I mean, how come you the man with the gun, and I'm just a citizen that you're
Right.
supposed to protected, protect. You're supposed to protect, and then I end up, being killed. We
Mhm.
understand. We do the police because we need our community need police, but it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be.
they're supposed to protect us. They're supposed to protect us.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be
To,
professionals, and we know what they do in white communities. So it's not
yeah.
like it's impossible. It's not like we're asking for something that has never been done before. We know that they're afraid of us, which is why they're always
But,
trying to shoot first.
but that
We
that
know.
is afraid. I don't think it's being afraid. It's just a feeling that your life doesn't mean anything, because that young man Roof that went into a church and killed
Right.
uh, 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 those people. He prayed with them and then killed them. And
I
the
think it's a
police
mix.
went, and this is supposed to be a dangerous man, but he was
Yeah.
arrested, and then in this
They
way,
took him to Burger King.
yeah, they stopped by the Burger King, buy him a burger, watch him eat it peacefully, drink some Kool-Aid or whatever he was drinking, and calmly come to jail. So that is like, what kind of world we're living in. So
I'm
it's something,
happy.
so
I'm,
something needs to be done, and we have to make sure that any
mhm.
leader that's supposed to be our leader or our elective officials
Right.
have to be to speak to those issues, we the voters, because if we don't do that, if we don't demand that those issues be on the table,
Dealt with.
then
Right.
it's mean nothing. It doesn't matter, and like when I see the African community, we've been pretty silent too, when it comes to
Agree.
these issues. We are here. It's a lot of us here. We contribute to
Hmm.
this nation, like a lot.
Right.
We most have degrees. We work in this country. We pay taxes, but it seems that we don't have a voice. We don't have a voice, in terms of when it comes to our situation in this country. When
There's a few of us.
when
There's
you
a
listen to immigration, you
mhm.
only are the Hispanic community, but we have also issues with immigration. There's a lot of us that come in this country and then overstay the visa, and then although they have degrees from universities and they be here for a
Mhm.
long time, still facing some deportation situation. So all of that have to be we have to put this to the light, and so that our leaders, our elected leaders, officially have to be able to speak to those issues as well. And but
That's what.
we have to be able to participate, because this in this nation, this is not democracy is not a spectator sport. You have to be
Yeah.
you have to participate in the process and make sure that your voice is heard.
And
What's
that's the reason we saluting, as your fellow countrymen. We saluting the type of work that you're doing over there in the DMV, and we wishing that more brothers and sisters actually follow your path and do some likewise work. We we are not organized. The African community is not organized as a strong unit yet, I guess, to in the political process. Uh, but we working. We like I said, we part of the social construct, and when we walking in the streets, we black people. We African Americans. Amadou Diallo was the proof of it. When the cops are arresting people and they shooting, they don't say, "Hey, what's your nationality? Let me see your passport and stuff." Uh, if you black, you black, and you go through some of the main stuff, most of the main stuff the African American community has been going through, except that they've been going through that for almost forever, 400 years, when we just got here and we finding out. I agree with you. We have to be more involved. We have to be more vocal about it. Uh, and usually when we are right now, we don't do it. I don't come in the movement and start protesting and start working for the betterment and the improvement of the country and saying, oh, I'm African all the time. I just come as a humble, as a human being, and I come as a black man first, you know. Um, and eventually people will know that, okay, this brother is from I don't know, Trinidad and Tobago. This other brother is from Gabon or Senegal and stuff like that. But we here, the Ghanaian community is very, very in it. The Nigerian community, they here. Um, we're here. We're here. So again, I
Yeah,
salute the type of work that you do. But I agree that we got a long way to go until we actually a make a real impact, but actually B would be make a real impact, but A would be to organize ourselves strongly enough to be respected in that sense, and to use our voices then to improve the system and be part of the social contract. Now
absolutely.
you spoke about the Spanish uh, influence, and when it comes to immigration, it makes sense. It makes sense because politics is a numbers game, right? It's a numbers sports, and we're not big enough when it comes to, you think of America as a continent, you think of North America and South America, and there's so many of them uh, from the American continent that speak Spanish. You also have American that speak Spanish on the lower west coast, so close to Mexico, etc. We know that the western, southwestern part of America used to be Mexico, and now is America. But you also have Puerto Rico, that are Puerto Ricans are Americans. Um, and yeah, so I think Spanish is like the second national language. It's official.
No, I, I
So
was
to
I
me,
was actually I was actually talking about the not really as a language because it's understandable the
Mhm.
legacy the Spanish language in this country, and there's a lot of Hispanic people in this country. Well, I was just talking about in terms of when we speak of immigration, it seems that it seems that it's only other people, but
Mhm.
we have to be into the conversation because a lot of us also suffer from the situation I was talking about. Most of us that coming into this country as a student, and then you oversee your visa, and then you have a
Right.
PhD, you end up driving a cab because the system doesn't allow you to really live fully. I mean, utilize your potential because the country, America, will lose, and you also lose if you have all of these brothers with master's degree, and PhDs that end up underemployed. You have a master's degree, but you're gonna have to go and work for a job that don't even need. I mean, requires a GED,
Right.
or plus because of for some reasons you end up being a cab driver, for example, when you were a PhD guy. So this country here lose because you went to school here, you spend a lot of money into our university here, and then you
Mhm.
end up not using the knowledge that you got in those university and other learning institutions. So
Mhm.
if you have a president that is speaking of making America great, although I know you will prefer people that look a little bit like Europeans to come in this country, but if you have a group of people that actually is showing the performance in terms of education or kind of stuff. You go to Texas, for example, Nigerian community is a very successful community, and whatever, just
Yeah.
not Texas. There's a lot of us here, the Ethiopian, the
Right.
Ghanaian. So, and the contribution to this country is enormous. You go to hospitals with doctors, we everything everywhere, teachers.
Right.
So we have to be able to be on the table and speak to those issues as well. So immigration is not just Hispanic; it's also us. You've seen at one point President Trump wanted to send back Asian people from Haiti back to this country. There were maybe 600,000 people in this country that came up here after I think there was a crisis. There was maybe earthquake or something like that. So they
Yeah,
came to this country, and then after a while, there was actually a conversation about moving them back to where they came from, because
right,
court and court, they want people that look like more likely look like Europeans to be the one that supposed to be immigrant in this country. But we have to be able to talk about the data, what the data say about
yeah,
our African, the contribution we are bringing, along with our brothers and sisters from America, because we've
right,
been here. We've been here for a long time. We have a long, long. We have a relationship with America that should not be ignored.
right.
The people that came here as a slave. Those are Africans.
Yeah,
So we never have a serious conversation with America. So it probably has to be a time where we have to start that conversation. Folks like yourself, myself, and others, let just create space. Have a voice and
yes,
make sure that our case be a part of the civil discourse in this country.
yeah.
Hey,
I mean, the
brother, I don't.
immigration.
Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
No, I was
I
just
was.
saying that we probably have a lot to address. Today alone
Sure.
is going to be enough. I'm going to
Mm.
give you just a chance to say a few words before we close up this session.
Um. Well, few words. Well, first, I'd like to thank you for having me. Definitely. Looking forward for the next conversation because you and I know we have a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
Uh, I just want to come back quickly into the immigration conversation. That's another down point for President Trump. Yes, we could approach it from the African perspective, but I prefer approach it from the immigrant perspective because it's not just African. There's a lot of people from all across the world, and when it comes to that topic, Mr. Trump and the Trump administration have failed gloriously. Um, so moving on from that, I would say that branching off, we have to reflect on the past 4 years and what President Trump has done for this country. Don't be shy about doing your homework if you want to, but we know that overall it has been bad um, compared to where we was at when Obama was in power. The way he left the country, which allowed Trump to actually um, celebrates a lot of the groundwork that Obama had already started. We know that we can do better. We know that America is better than that. We know that our Caucasian brothers and sisters are not all like Trump and all these outrights and everybody that's racist. As a matter of fact, in the Black Lives Matter protest that I've been part of, I'm not in the organization, but in the protest that I've been part of, there was so many Caucasians. We also know that even from the civil rights movement standpoint, there has been a lot of white folks that were part of it. I believe the NAACP was probably founded by white people, along with us, etc., working with Martin Luther King, etc. So the African American struggle is not an African American problem. It's an American problem. And everybody has to chip in, whether you're Caucasian, whether you're Asian, whether you are African, European, whatever you call yourself. If you're in America and you care about the well-being of this country, uh, this concerns you, and you want to make sure people are treated fairly, because No matter what you do, whether you act up on it or disregard and turn your back on it, it's going to blow back on you and it's going to come back to you. So that's the thing. What else I wanted to say? Um, I don't even know what to say because I'm not used to those, beautiful political debates and stuff. But we we have to push people. I'm going to speak to the African community right now. We have to stand up. We have to organize ourselves as not just a community, but community actors in order to get our people, the ones that are American, the ones that have the nationality, whether you were African but born here, first generation or whichever generation, or that you, just like me, became a citizen to citizenship. If you have the power to vote, November is the time to speak your voice. But besides speaking your voice and making your vote, make sure you also speak to your neighbors. Here in Brooklyn, here in New York, this is in the immigrant community with Jamaicans, Haitians, Indians, you name it, everywhere, everybody. So let's educate each other. Let's make sure we understand that this problem is bigger than just one race or one person. Let's make sure we understand that Trump and everything he's done for these past 4 years is not very conducive to success and progress. We're aiming higher than that. We worth better than that. We're capable of better than that. Uh, so let's go and vote, and make sure you vote early because there's some shady stuff happening with the postal office and everything else. So if you can go physically, go ahead. If you vote through the postal system, make sure you do that early, register early, and come out and vote. The African in me has to speak to also my African people outside of America to say, hey guys, it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up.
Absolutely.
It's time to step up to the challenge. We came in and we grew up as kids, and we used to think that politics was something about other people and the grown-ups handling it. But Obama started very young. If you look at the forefathers of America, you understand how young these people were when they created this system that even till today we're still thriving on and we're still working from. Uh, Even though we had to make some amendments, and I believe all of the issues that we're seeing right now with the police shootings and all this systemic racism is still part of the fabric where we know that whatever was created was not perfect. And as a matter of fact, it was created on some criminal activities, slavery, etc., colonization, etc., exploitation, Jim Crow, everything else. So my African people, let's join hands with our African American people, but also my African American people. Please take a look at what's going on in Africa because we need y'all as well. You have homes there. You have families there. We will, when you come over there, we will welcome you. We will tell you everything that it is, and you understand that I'm one of the believers that a strong Black America will help Africa get stronger, and vice versa. A strong Africa will help Africa, Black America, as well as Africans in Europe, etc., and the Caribbeans get stronger. So we need to work. We have work to
We, we,
do.
we will have probably another time
Me too.
to into that. I know
Me
it's important for all this community to come together. It's about time. There's no excuse.
Yeah.
Be that we depend on the mainstream media to tell us who we are. Right now, with social media and all kind of stuff, everybody have a responsibility to learn more. You can do your own research. So we
Yeah.
have to, continue to build those bridges so that we all this community come together. And when we're here, we have to be a part of this social movements. We have to help this country get better and to be a good country for everybody. So
The
we're
last
gonna
thing,
last word.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
go
last
ahead.
thing I wanted to say. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm part of those who believe that no matter it is that what we do, we cannot just rely on politics and politicians. Um, yes, it's great to go and vote, but that's not necessarily what's going to change your personal life and the life of your family. So you have to be active within your community. Let's eradicate the criminality and crimes within our community. So let's police our community better so that these people are not going to come from outside and kill us. But also, we have to become entrepreneurs. We have to take our fate and our lives and livelihood within our own hands. So let's not just sit down and just say, okay, we voting and we waiting. You know, in the midst of all of that, we still have to try to make this country presents a lot of beautiful opportunities for any individual, no matter where you come from. And we have multiple success stories to prove it. So to my African American community, let's roll up our sleeves. Let's continue to roll up our sleeves and strive for better. But we can't wait on any Democrats or Republicans to think they're the ones that are going to save us and make us better. This is part of it. The other part is what we do with our lives and how do we stand up and knock down the obstacles to become what we're supposed to be.
Absolutely. Well, my brother Horus, I think you were able to put out everything in your chest. I know you will come back. You are an entrepreneur. This show is about politics, education, and a business. This is our
Yeah.
platform. Feel free to come back.
And love and love. Love.
You're welcome. And on this, if somebody don't give you a chair at the table, you bring your own chair. So that's what we're doing right now. We have
That's
to bring
it.
our own and make sure that our voice is a part of the voices in America. Okay, so we're gonna live right there, everything right there, and look forward to speak with you again. Thank you for coming. Continue to do the groundwork that you always do. Galvanize the young people in your neighborhood. Talk to
Thank you,
your
Malik.
African community. This election is probably one of the most important election in our time. It's important for
Yes,
us to participate and to vote, and then to send a clear message that we here too. This is our home. We here and we go nowhere. Okay. So thank you
yes,
again from New York, Mister. What's the name? Y.
why?
I think
Yes, sir.
we didn't get into it, but probably next time you come and tell us about this why, because I'm still pretty curious about the meaning of that name. All right,
Just
so
leave
my
it
brother,
alone. Thanks for having me, man.
absolutely. I'll talk to you another time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah.